Hello and welcome to the Billion Dollar Broker Podcast. My name is Ross LeCane. I'm bringing my 25 years industry experience together with leading experts around the globe to give you the insights on how to live a better life and grow a profitable mortgage broking business that you are proud of. Welcome to another episode of the Billion Dollar Broker. My name's Ross LeCane. We've got a special guest from the other side of the country, the lucky side of the country at the moment, Adam Donald from Capita Finance. He's a franchise owner. He's got three franchises with the Capita Group. He's one of AFG's best brokers in WA, and a couple of years ago he was awarded the Best Broker Award, which is quite a prestigious award in WA. Numerous other awards, Adam, from Best Residential Broker at the Better Business Awards, Customer Service Awards. You mentioned your mum's won the Loan Administrator Award, and she works in your business. So congratulations. So looking forward to having a conversation and sort of unpacking what sort of led to these awards. So where I like to start is sort of give me a bit of an introduction. I know you've been in broking since 2005. So give me a bit of a sort of introduction in terms of how you came to become a broker.
Thanks for having me firstly, Ross. I was actually very young, late teens, and I was working in an aloe vera distributor, which I tell a lot of people when I was 19, serving aloe vera to old ladies that used to buy it by the litres. And my boss at the time, actually, her son owned a brokerage and said, "Oh, you'd be great at this. You're personable. People like to talk to you." At that point, I had no desire to have a career. So quit that job, which was a part-time job, worked in bars for a couple of years and then went traveling for a year. Came back, had dropped out of uni twice with no degree. And I gave her a call back and said, "Is that opportunity to meet your son still available?" And he kind of met with him, didn't need to hire me at the time. Obviously, it was a very different low-doc, no-doc kind of era back then. Didn't need to hire a young kid looking to make a name for himself. But no, he did. He gave me an opportunity. Wasn't allowed to write a loan for about 9 months being there. So I had to just learn and work in a bar every evening and just listen to all the other brokers. And that's how I kind of got started and was with him for a while. And now at Capita.
So what do you remember from those early days when you weren't being able to sort of write a loan? What do you remember from those sort of early days in the 9 months and sort of listening to the conversations of other brokers in the office?
Like I said, it was a different time to the compliance world and pre-GFC loans where there was just crazy things going on. But I remember my first day. It was, if you know WA, it was in O'Connor. It was in a warehouse, an old Cooler Cozy warehouse, which is a roof insulation company which they had converted, and it was like the Wolf of Wall Street. There was a Ferrari, a Porsche, a Land Rover, and you walked in there and guys were just on the phones. Males and females, and it was just everyone was out there just doing their thing, and it was interesting because I was I'd been thrown in the deep end, had no idea, and it was just learning. And what I loved about those days was all the guys then who were doing extremely well, still gave me the time to take me out and learn all what they do individually. I've kind of still remember that I've taken certain things from certain brokers and still kind of used those little facets that they had a part of their probably interview process with the client. And I still do them today. And they're the kind of moments I love in those first 9 months, even though I wasn't allowed to earn $1 while there. So, yeah.
So in that interview process, what are some of the things that you would still do today, for example, in your interview process that you picked up way back then?
Yeah, one in particular, there was this guy, Howard, who's still in the industry, great guy. He would always say, look, and it was kind of insulating himself and his team from actually being in trouble. He would literally say, look, the bank's going to take some time here. It's not your fault. It's not my fault. But I'm going to call you and say, you remember that time I told you the bank's taking their time? This is it. And that would allow him to kind of break the ice when things are going wrong, or you got to go get more documents, which today, as a broker, compliance and, having to do, credit proposals again, because things change. You kind of have to have that dialogue at the start to be able to allow them to understand, well, look, this isn't you. Everyone goes through this process because it's a kind of evolving market and constantly changing around, how compliance is done and best interest duties and so on and so forth. So,
Yeah, beautiful. I was once told it's like it's like a plane taking off, and you're like the stewardess, right? We
Yeah,
can't guarantee that you're not going to run into turbulence,
yeah,
because throughout the process there is quite a lot of turbulence.
yeah,
Whether it's a crappy credit assessor, whether it's something that banks or someone drops the ball, there's
yeah.
going to be stuff that happens, and our job is to make your flight as smooth as possible so we can
Correct.
get you into your home. So I thought, that's similar, but I think it's a similar sort of an analogy to what you're saying.
I think as well, he would say, he would actually give himself a few steps. So he'd go, look, it's going to happen a few times. And if it went like one time, they'd go, yeah, no problem. Two times, yeah, no problem. If something for a third time happened that wrong, he'd just call him up. He goes, it's just one of those files, right? Like and kind of make a joke of it. And he was a guy, and I assume he still is. Obviously, we don't work together now, but he could make a joke at the expense of the client within the first 5 minutes and talk about, a customer liking you. That's a pretty impressive thing to really, break the ice with someone in that, that meeting. Because I myself, I got a lot of colleagues in the industry that make clients come to them. I'm still at the kitchen table, at 17 years, and I kind of love that people really value that time at their house and meeting kids and dogs and all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah, and it's great. I think that's a great lesson for your loan administration staff too. Like,
yeah,
treat your clients as humans. Have a bit of fun with them, have a joke.
yeah,
Then when you ask them for that outstanding document, it doesn't feel as hard, right? It's
yeah,
because you've had a bit of fun, you've shown that you're human, you understand, their humanity, and then it's easy then to get what you need. I think when people just go up and sort of are pretty abrupt and just
yeah,
ask for what they need and forget about, hey, you've got actually a real person with a client, and they're
yeah,
looking for, the main thing that they want is a connection, right? And they want to have a laugh and they want it to be an enjoyable process. So put that first and foremost, and then obviously your needs will come second. And I had a loan administrator, and she won loan administrator of the year as well, and she was great at doing that, right? Just
yeah.
really good at building that rapport, and then getting what she wants, right? So
Yeah.
definitely great tip there.
I
So
think as well, I think, we joke, it's about them having, like you said, understanding that you're human as well. And, I joke about it with real estate agents all the time because I'm heavy in real estate, and they go, you're just another broker. And I'll say, you're just another real estate agent as well. We're all in this together, but you sell the dream of a house. I sell 30 years of debt. Who's the better salesperson, right? So, it's all about having a laugh and keeping it a bit lighthearted, so.
oh, exactly. It's just a game. It's just
Correct.
a game.
Just the
Definitely.
game.
Definitely. So that's how you got started. So tell me, so obviously, how did you end up, I mentioned, you said you were one of the first franchise owner at Capita. So how did you sort of, venture into Capita and get started there with your own business?
Yeah, so I obviously about 7.5 years ago, I thought it was time. I learned a lot off my ex-business partner. He was my mentor as well, but it was time after about 9 years together to probably start again. I wasn't growing where I needed to be, and I was 30. I went to my aggregator at the time, Jeremy Whelans, who gave me some advice. And I said, look, mate, can I leave? Is there opportunities out there? And he said, Adam, you're 30 years old with 9 years experience. Where do you want to go? So got offered a couple of gigs at a couple of different places. And I met Jill McLean down at Capita, who was the general manager who'd been taken on there, and realized there was a lot of growth potential. Some of the other opportunities were limited to certain real estate offices, because I knew I wanted to go in that real estate path rather than doing construction loans and so on and so forth, because I like the high intensity and the quick turnaround of that, as brokers like that kind of, rather than the drag out of the construction period kind of thing. But it's been great. I've never looked back, and I've started where we were, when I joined Capita, probably 2 mil a month, and it's now at, on about 10 mil a month in settlements. So it's great. It's really good. So.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. And you mentioned that you were big in real estate. So is that how you got sort of started in Capita, with lots of real estate agent referrals and so forth?
Yeah, so as I said earlier, it's kind of based on a model where you would be given a real estate office. So I joined in an office, and again, real estate agents, they've obviously always got their own people already. So it's trying to break into those people. It's all well and good that the boss of the real estate agents say that you should be using this guy for finance when, as we all know, especially in real estate, they've got their allegiances, and there's commission payments and so on. So it took a bit of time to learn the lingo and learn all that space, I guess. But yeah, it allowed me to meet real estate agents, see how they operate, and then try and I guess change my process to kind of help them facilitate sales, and more importantly, get more listings. So I think a lot of brokers out there always focus on the buyer, but what about the seller? If that person's selling a house for 750,000, they're probably going to a 1.2. So it's about helping that process on the other side, So there's a lot of business out there, and if you can look at it from every which angle, there's opportunity in every person you meet, I guess. So.
Yeah, beautiful. I love a couple of things you said there. One is in terms of breaking in, because there's not too many where the door is wide open with these referral relationships, right? Anyone that's any good and has been around for a while would have come across numerous mortgage brokers, right? So it is around breaking in and sort of putting yourself as that sort of point of difference. And I love what you said in terms of changing your process to suit the real estate agents, right? So what can I do differently in my own business that's going to add value to who I want to target and who I ultimately want to work with, right? And it's really the same way that I say, build your business around the customer.
Yeah.
It's building your business around the referrer in terms of, all right, and they're one of your biggest customers at the end of
Correct.
the day. Because
100%.
so, talk to me a little bit about what are some of the things that you did within your process to change it to sort of add value to a real estate agent partner.
I think, being grand final week, it's probably the one percenters that you do, which are not potentially dollar productive, but just it's the break in. You got to kind of, cut your teeth a little bit with real estate agents to get the trust up, from helping making calls when I would just joined the group, on home open data, which, they might have 100 people through the home open, probably not back then. It's a bit more like that now, but, making those calls to kind of qualify whether they've got a listing, but then also talking about whether we could obtain finance for them to potentially get a client pre-approved because they might have another stock that they could sell them, or having a quick 2-minute conversation with the client before they put in an offer, even though they'd been to the bank, having a conversation with the broker to be able to give that real estate agent the peace of mind. If they accept that offer, they know they're not going to have to call their vendor in 2 weeks to say it's been declined. We didn't really know because the branch person didn't really tell us anything. So, not obviously, going past privacies and that, but, those kind of things allows an agent to really get that trust, because there's no money in it at that point, but it will allow you to break in and show that there is something more than just writing a home loan for someone. Because I think a lot of real estate agents have this idea that, brokers are out for just themselves, where it's a symbiotic relationship. We're in this together. In my world, if you're not selling houses, people aren't writing loans. And if they don't have the money, they're not buying the house. So they go hand in hand. So.
Yeah, love that. I mean, there's so much value in that in terms of, people struggle for people to call, and, you've built a relationship, got access to their open house list. Yes, you've got access to their open house list, but you're creating value for them. First and foremost, you're looking for listings for them. And then as a side, you'll ask them a question about finance, right? But you're providing value for them. It's probably not something that they enjoy doing. I don't find too many people that love banging phones. So if you're someone that's happy to bang phones on their behalf, they're going to be more than happy to sort of give you the list of data to be able to go and do that. And then secondly, it's not always around a referral fee. It's around their time, right? If you waste a couple of weeks on the wrong buyer and that falls over because he can't get his loan approved, and I've be able to sort of do a quick qualification for you in a couple of minutes to say, hey, is he worth pursuing? Yeah, that's valuing them, which is their most precious commodity, which, like everyone, it's their time, right? So yeah, really, really important. I love that. I love that. So that was sort of, how you got started. So do you still do a lot with real estate agents today?
Yeah, so that office is still around that I've joined. It's just, as obviously the podcast with other people, but as you get bigger, the business gets bigger, and so where I deal with a lot of real estate agents around town now that not only in that office, but obviously out there independently, whether it's an actual physical whole office of agents I deal with or just individuals. And what that is it's the little things again by picking up those referrers. It's calling the agent when you get the offer and acceptance for your client. You might have a client pre-approved. They go, I've got a house. You go, amazing, congratulations. But giving that one call to that agent that they're buying off to say, hey, it's Adam, my team, Deborah, Denise, and Kelly. They're going to be in contact. This is what's going to happen. Valuation is going to be ordered. We're going to need a copy of the deposit receipt. We'll call you as soon as, or if there's anything. And that one thing allows them to go, oh, these guys know what they're doing. And you kind of get a name around town that if my company and my franchises are working on it, well, it's going to get approved. And that's obviously allowed the business to grow exponentially because the level of trust in my referrers is a big thing. Clients trust us, but so should the referrers as well. And being in real estate, as you said, their biggest commodity is selling homes. So they need to know that if they are putting me in contact with their clients, that it's going to go ahead.
Yeah, beautiful. Beautiful. Is there anything else in terms of dealing with the real estate agents that other brokers should know if they want to sort of delve into dealing with real estate agents?
Yeah.
You've been doing it for many, many years.
Yeah, look, real estate, as I said, we should be working hand in hand. But the one big thing, it's communication. The one thing I tell a lot of the guys that have worked for me and are working for me, even my staff, I will say, if we've got a finance due date on a Friday afternoon at 4 p.m. and we know we're not going to hit that, we don't call them on Friday at 3:30 p.m. We call them 2 days before, warning them that this could go over because there's delays with new credit assessors, and they're not picking up the file. It's nothing to do with the client. It just can't get picked up physically. But that communication of 2 days before allows them to not have to call their seller on the weekend, and then they stress all weekend because you got to, as I tell my buyers or borrowers or clients, there's another side to the story as well. You got someone waiting for this finance. Yes, you want to buy this house, but there's also that other person that wants to sell and they're trying to buy something. So if communication doesn't break down, everything should be smooth. And you can't write real volume without pure communication, because that will allow you to write more business, because the dialogue is flowing easily between every party: settlement agents, real estate agents, referrers, clients, everything. So.
Yeah, I love that. And I love the fact that you guys do it on the client's behalf, because you got to put yourself in the client's shoes, right? This is their dream home. They're panicking. I don't want to lose that property if I go over the finance clause. I don't want to pick up the phone and call the agent because I'm scared. Just the fact that you go, hey, I've already done it. I've done it today. They've got warning. It really puts them at ease. They don't have to actually think about making a call. So they're the 1%ers that you're talking about that not are only great for your referral partner, but it's the customer, experience and the customer service that you're providing to the client, and saying, okay, and you're making it easy for them because they don't even need to pick up the phone to the real estate agent because you've already done it.
Yeah. I think as well, the one other thing I should say is it's even going further than that, where I'm happy to make a call to the vendor, because sometimes hearing it from the real estate agent, that's why you get more buy-in from the real estate agent, is making a call to the vendor. They're hearing it from me, not the same real estate agent that they've been hearing for the last month, hearing it direct from the broker saying, look, there's nothing wrong. Here is me telling you, look, we need a couple of days. It's probably going to come in Monday, Tuesday. If it comes in over the weekend, great. But at least they're hearing it from another party. Whereas, a lot of vendors, they hear from real estate agents time and time again, but in that 4 weeks of 28 days that it's been delayed, they don't want to hear at the last minute, oh yeah, it's been delayed. They need someone else to say it's been delayed, So it's just communication. It's so critical, especially with real estate. If that breaks down, your relationships break down. So.
Yeah, definitely. We were talking before and you said one of the areas that you're strong at? And again, it's not with referral partners, but still in that sort of real estate space, was around, how you differentiate yourselves from other brokers is what you do around education. So you want to tell me in terms of, what you do with your clients, whether it be a first home buyer or an upgrader, in terms of that sort of differentiates you guys apart.
Yeah, I guess, I think as we were talking before, in the eastern states, the auction is the purest form of selling. So, you're there on the day, you buy a house, whereas in real estate in WA, there's 28 days finance, but before you get that house, there's set date sales, expressions of interest, offers, no price, and you just don't know. Agents are using marketing to obviously get the best possible price for their client, which is what they need, they should be doing. So it's about having to navigate that process. So, it'll be calls to the agent before they make an offer to try and see if the client's in a ballpark, because there's nothing more dejecting for my clients, whether it be first home buyers, upgraders, looking at something that they really want. But if they're 50 grand apart, there's no point talking about a property that they're never going to get, So it's about that education piece, but also kind of giving as much information to my clients so they can make an educated decision on what they want to do. But, in this time, as a lot of brokers out there would have heard at my age, a lot of clients say, I remember when rates were 18, 19%, the late 80s, early 90s. I go, yep, I totally get that. But in 20 years' time, this generation is going to be the people that say, I remember when it had a 1 in front of it. So it's going to be arguing from a different point, but it's about people understanding, yes, you can buy these properties just because you have an idea that you should only be buying a property for 500,000. Well, this is what we can get pre-approved for. So the client would go maybe get pre-approved for 600,000 because they now know that extra 100 grand is only going to cost them X, and they go shop below that 600. So it's about giving that education piece about where they feel comfortable, because it's important to own property, but it's important to have a lifestyle while owning property. And that's really critical with the way I go about things, because I just want my clients to be happy where they're going in that dream home, but they need to have a life while they do it.
Yeah, definitely. I know I used to go through the seas of lending. I'm saying there's two borrowing capacities, right? One is the capacity that you're comfortable with, but the second is the capacity that the bank will lend you, and they're two different things. And I don't think enough people sort of have that conversation, and probably why around the country there is so much mortgage stress, because people do buy it off a little bit more than they can chew from time to time. Love it. So then, that's just one of the areas that you sort of provide that sort of education around, the buying process. Is there anything else that you do in terms of around education for your clients?
Oh, yeah, look, I've got a big team that do a lot of, the amount of property reports we must do a week for a client is out of, for a specific client. I think Deb was telling me a couple of weeks ago that we got up to 48 property reports for one client looking to buy houses. So, it's just data. Like, people just want to know, and it's probably being available, even though it could be a 5-second conversation, to give that client that peace of mind. And as I tell every client, 99% of the time we're going to be on the same page, because it's about minimizing cost. But I think it's about them being informed of, what does it cost? What does it look like? If I offer this, what happens? People just want knowledge. And with that education piece about, if this happens, this will happen, and so on and so forth. If they understand the full process, I think clients can, as I said, make an informed decision. And unfortunately, there's still some brokers out there that don't give that understanding. Like, I have to come in and save some deals where the client doesn't even know what bank they're going to, so that is a problem. And I think if brokers go out there and educate their customers, they'll succeed a lot more, and business will flow on, because they'll have a great experience. And as I tell all my clients, if you have a great experience, you might tell a few people. You have a bad experience, you'll tell everyone. So
exactly. In terms of you've mentioned your team a lot, so obviously that's important. And I can just hear through the conversation you're constantly referring to your team. So it's not It sounds like it's just not the Adam Donald show. It's the way that you present your whole business is around your team. Do you want to talk a little bit on that?
Yeah, sure. So I've got 3 assistants, and a couple of years ago we were scrambling a little bit. When you start to write volume, as most people would know, it gets really messy, like communication. And as I go back to it, communication starts to break down between me and my staff, or even the real estate agents, and worst case of all, if it was to break down with the client, right? So I went back, we had a reshuffle. I've got 3 assistants, but what I've done is I've segmented them in what departments they kind of work. So I've got Kelly, who is amazing. She's very organized, compliance driven, and does full upfront. So that will be submitting the deal and getting all documents together, and we go through that process. Once it gets submitted, Deb takes over. That's my mum. She works for me. She's amazing. She's won the best loan administrator a couple of years ago. So she takes it from submission to settlement, and to the point where she will even help through the drawdowns for the next year on the construction process. And then also, lastly is Denise, who's with me, and Denise does pricing, switches, valuations, and all the unfortunately grunt work for Denise, but she does it well. And because they all work, together, and there's a lot of communication, allows them to focus on what they need to do, and they do it well. And it allows me to do what I do well, and that's be in front of clients and meeting new people or referrers, or whoever I can help at that. And because that's what I enjoy doing, and B, they I hope enjoy helping me do what we do as a team. So
yeah, definitely, I love that. It gives you a chance to what I call the dollar productive activities, to focus on the dollar productive activities. And I used to say, yeah, I'm the one that runs through the wall and makes the mess, and I've got a team that comes through and cleans it up after me. And it sounds like you're a bit the same. You've got that team that will do the first part, which is the front end, which there's a lot of work in these days in terms of, document collection, living expenses statements, putting a deal together, getting the client, to sign the document and that in and lodged. And then you've got the next person, Deb, your mum, who does the tracking all the way from submission all the way through to settlement. Then you've got the post-settlement stuff. And as your book grows and you get more and more clients, there's that sort of side of the business is really ongoing. So in terms of the other thing that I picked up is you mentioned that, okay, there's certain triggers that happen when you know that it's time to grow, right? So talk to me about when you know that it's right to put another person into the mix.
Well, I think you learn, what's happening within your business. If you really know your numbers and where you're trying to go or what you're planning on doing, you have to have strategies in place. So, the one big thing was when I joined Capita was I was always used to having a back office person at my previous place. So Deb came on to help me with that process. And then I realized, well, we're hitting a certain volume amount, but I was doing the submissions myself, and I said, well, to write the volume I want to write, we have to bring on another person. So Kelly came on. And then after that, we realized, well, how do we manage the back book? And that's when Denise kind of came on. So there's certain trigger points in your business where you kind of get to where you just go, okay, well, to maintain this level, you have to have the right people around you. And for me, growth is all about the team, right? So I cannot perform the way I do without them. I could not tell you today what any of those 3 are doing today. I know that they're all working very hard because they are very proactive. And I think that is a big thing in our industry, is to always be working with people that are proactive rather than reactive. Otherwise, your business just will not grow. And then also, when you want to slow it down and not be absolutely bombarded every day, you bring on other brokers. So it does take a bit of pressure on, the volume, because as you were saying, people want to buy this house. You could get a call at 10 o'clock on a Saturday night. Whereas if you can start shooting off some deals to brokers that work for you, well, they're taking a bit of the workload off, not only off me, but also the staff, because they don't obviously use my assistants. They do their own processing and so on and so forth. So I think trigger points it's all about the people around you, allow you to really grow to where you want to be. But it's about having the right people around you as well. So.
Yeah. So when you talked a lot about strategy, so what's your strategy moving forward? Like, where do you see yourself in the next few years, and what's the sort of, what do you envisage your team looking like in the future?
Yeah, well, I envisage, like, there's a fair few brokers out there in Capita. There'd be about 12, but the target is to be over 50% of the business. That's internally at Capita. But there is I guess, a target of, more taking time, work-life balance kind of thing. So that will require bringing on new brokers to obviously offset the workload. So for me, I guess it's more about getting to a point where you kind of let go, but also know that everyone that you're letting go to it's just humming like that. I talk about it with my team all the time. It's the humming number, where you can get this flow where no one's ever, pulling their hair out and all that kind of stuff. And the business is still continually coming through. The customers are happy. The vendors are happy. That is where I'm trying to get to. And we're not there yet. Like, there's still things we constantly need to tweak. And as you know, with best interest, duties, compliance, living expense, it's this evolving market. So I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. I'm probably still going to be on the tools for the next 10 years. I'm only 38 at the minute. So I'll slow it down when I'm maybe 45, and then, kind of gradually go a bit more, but who knows? I love it too much. I love being with the customer. I love the problem solving of how we're going to help them get from that 500,000 to that, $800,000 house. So.
Yeah, it's great. It's something that always changes, and that's one of the great things about bringing a broker, right?
Yeah.
No one situation's the same, every client is slightly different. So having a job that sort of varies so much and having to come up with a different scenario and a different strategy for each client is definitely one of the things that is great about broking. That's for sure. So in terms of, obviously thinking about things that are about broking, one of the things that we were sort of chatting off air before is around, okay, well, how can you bring some personality into the business? And one of the things that you commented on, and I want you to sort of, talk to about what you're talking about me, is really about, your authenticity in the business in terms of how you just love to be yourself. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, I guess you get to a point where you are what you are. And I know exactly what I am as a broker, as a business person and a business owner. So I keep it really casual. Some people like the suited person, but, coming in their fancy car and all that. I'm not about that. You either like me or you don't. And I want to be able to joke with my clients, and I want to be able to go out there and, have a conversation about, what they did on the weekend, or, something stupid that their kid did, rather than, I can't talk to Adam about this because this is happening. People are real, and they, everyday life happens every which point. And it allows me to go in there and probably have a joke. And it brings me back to that guy that taught me at the start, Howard. That guy could make a joke about someone in the first 5 minutes. And I think that's pretty cool. Just if they don't like your personality, you don't have to work with every single client. You're not going to be able to deal with everyone. Like, you look at the spectrums of personalities, and I know I'm not great sometimes with an accountant like you, because they're very number orientated, whereas I'm more about the whole, let's do this as a journey together. I really try and make it a bit of a team, and my dialogue's all about what we are doing. Again, it's their money at the end of the day, but it's about them understanding that we're going on this journey together. And I really hope that comes across as authentic when people are dealing with me.
Definitely. And I think, that's all really we can be if we want to be ourselves. And, one of my mentors said, be yourself at 110%. Right? Yeah. Be yourself at 110%. Give as much as what you possibly can give, and play to your strengths. And as you said, your strength is at the front in terms of building the relationships, dealing with referral partners, dealing with customers, being lighthearted, having a joke. And obviously it's working, right? To be one of the top brokers in WA, you're obviously doing something right.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's great. Like, I really enjoy it. And, we just love helping people. And it's got to a point, where you kind of just have this flow on effect from all the clients. And, you don't have to make as many calls, but if you continue to do like I was saying, the 1%ers, just because you get to a certain volume doesn't mean there can't be more. People say, why don't you slow down a little bit? And I go, well, why can't it just be more? Like there's always opportunity. It's where you are in life. Like, the team goes, oh, you're, like you said, you run through the wall, make a mess. I'm 100% like that, right? I'm a bull in a china shop at the best of times. Like, and for me, I just, there's no slowdown. I will slow down. I know I will at some point. You'll have to, because, families and all that kind of stuff. But at this point, I just enjoy working at the level that we do. And I'm so proud of what we've accomplished, especially my team. Without them, I wouldn't be able to do it. So.
Yeah, and I think that's, what you said and what comes through in terms of your voice and the way you're talking is the enjoyment, right? And I think it's a great lesson in terms of pick the parts of your business, do what you love, and the results will follow. If it comes to a point where you're not loving it, then that's where, okay, you have to change something, right? Or look at another option. But for while you're still loving it, yeah, as long as you're happy, then that's the purpose of life, right? So you may as well, do what you can and go and really help. And as you said, take people on that journey. So I think that's a fantastic message there.
Yeah. Oh, look, and it is. It's being a part of it with people, and that's, I think, when you're dealing with hundreds of thousands, possibly $1 million of debt with people want to know that you're in their corner. And I think authenticity and having the right people around you is really important, because it allows them to have that peace of mind and that breathing space when they're, those, as we were talking off air, it's all private treaty over here. And those 28 days of not knowing whether they've got that house or not, I get some calls where, it's like counseling some of these people. They just want to be talked off the ledge, knowing that it's going to be okay. Because as we all know as brokers, like, there can be some serious delays with credit assessment teams at the best of times. So,
yeah, I think you've got a few brokers from the eastern states jealous of that 28 days cooling off period. They've got 66 Ws, a race to sign contracts, auction conditions.
Yeah.
I don't think they know the meaning of a 28-day finance.
Think of the loan size though, Ross. Think of the loan size over there.
That's true. That is definitely true. You probably have to write at least 3 for their one. So it has its pros and cons, that's for sure. All right, love it. I love the conversation. Again, we could probably go on talking for hours, I'm sure, but we'll sort of wrap it up. One of the things I like to wrap it up with is, if you're giving some advice to somebody who's looking at, really sort of taking their broking business to the next level, right? So going from that solo broker to really scaling their business, what's sort of one piece of advice that you'd give?
I think I've said it a few times now, but get the right people around you. You can't you will not be able to deal with credit and meet people and do everything that you need to do as a broker by yourself. So it's about having the right team around you and getting it right. But more importantly as well, as I said earlier, having the proactive people. You need to really know what their strengths are and what their weaknesses are, and then using those strengths to obviously grow your business, and making sure that you're doing it together, not just the broker is the face of it all. Most of my clients at the end of when I call them after settlement, they don't thank me, they thank my mum. You just thank your mum. It's been great, because she's gone through that. I'm very to the point. I say, this is how it is and this is what's going to happen. But Deb takes on that mothering role, which allows them to breathe easy, because she's kept them in the loop, and Kelly's helped them get all the documents in, because that is a process. And Denise is helping with the back end. Like, and again, going back to communication, if you can communicate and have the right team around you, you can grow your business. But you've got to invest in people. That's really important. So.
Oh, exactly. Invest. I love that. And invest in people. Because if you invest in people, then you're going to give the returns. I mean, I think we all wish we had a mum like yours in our business. And It sounds like she does amazing work, and obviously she's that sort of rock in your team. But I think that's a great tip and a great advice, and I couldn't have said it better myself. If you can't scale effectively without having the right people and the right team, and I know, that's something that we work a lot with in terms of my coaching clients and on my accelerator program, in terms of how you get the right people, how you find them, how you train them, and how you invest your time in them. So love that. So look, thanks again, Adam. It's been a pleasure. I really enjoyed having you on the podcast.
Thanks, Ross. I really appreciate being on the podcast. Thank you very much.
No worries. Well, this has been another episode of the $1 Billion Broker podcast. If you'd like to get in touch, there's a couple of ways you can do it. One, follow the podcast on your favorite podcast channel. Two, get in touch with us on the $1 Billion Broker Facebook group and request to join. And thirdly, if you'd like to reach out and you want help, we've got a couple of different programs that we offer from a coaching perspective. So reach out to us at the $1 Billion Broker, or hit me up on Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn, and I'd love to help you out. So thanks again, and I'll see you next time.